Ngaroso kangata yakati noji jeba noji ane donga nikata nyole cheshu bata kawasu boyi sobaji kaligares.
And as we mentioned yesterday, but just as a reminder, really important to recollect that we are very fortunate to be able to practice a path of both sutra and tantra. Can you hear Geshe-Le's voice okay? Do that.
Oh, there and there is that you know that the one you can only know me by time you get the own Rosaki to the in a manger. That she takor of a tembo and rotona, or that Nika Maselaki, but the Dutch Monday of yours.
So for those of you who are practicing Tantra, and in particular for the people who have received a Tantric empowerment and feel an affinity with the Vajrayana, then to progress in the practice, it's absolutely essential to develop an understanding of the sadhana, and on that basis to develop a good and stable practice.
Oh, that's also that in Ngodrup repeated the matter. So no, let us say about your because
So of course, we are also limited for time over the span of this mini retreat. So in the short amount of time, Geshe-La will explain as much as he can the essential points. But ideally what happens is that then when you do the practice at home, you leave yourself more time and you cultivate the various points in a relaxed and attentive way.
And when
we have a knowledge of the sadhana, then when we engage in the practice, recite it slowly and pause on the points that we want to focus or meditate on. There's a special joy that is going to arise from the practice. Juga? Ale, los, sorry. And so when we speak about Vajrayana, any of the 4 classes of Tantra, then we can say that all 4 of these classes of Tantra share sort of an essential point, which is that they are cultivated to allow us to abandon impure appearances and to cultivate pure appearance. So Geshe-La said that he's shared this before in the Chakra Samvara and Vajrayogini classes, but perhaps some of you weren't at those classes, so he'll share it again, that his friends who are skilled in the practice of Tantra mention that when they recite the sadhana, it is as if they leave the ordinary world, right? They go into the world of the sadhana, to a completely different place. Jimba? Nima. Los. Yeah, yeah. Los. Gonda. Nanso se tabe kapura roa dene özerdin so chasanwa padro semshin dang ne. Pobadang. Yeah, yeah. Ale. Okay. It's kale kapakarin sen özerdi lev go gire do. Trimpa yone den kodro. Yeah. Yeah. So then if we are able to cultivate pure appearance, we will also really be able to understand the purpose of the visualizations, for example, as the deity emanating the lights and so forth that touch and purify the various environments and sentient beings within them. We'll have a feeling that something is really being accomplished. We'll think, I did something for sentient beings. It'll be as if the really hot sun is blocked by a cloud and sentient beings have respite for that moment. So also we can understand that we have the basis for these visualizations because the extremely subtle mind and its potential are associated with the 5 radiant colored lights. And also these 5 radiant lights are seen as the seeds or the imprints of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So it's not as if these visualizations are coming out of nowhere, right? Their basis is building upon the potentials that we already have within us. So also another thing to mention here is that when we cultivate this type of tantra, Kriya Tantra or Action Tantra, or indeed any of the 3 lower classes of Tantra, that there is not the inseparable great bliss wisdom like we find in highest yoga Tantra. That language is not used in these practices, but we do talk about clarity and profundity. That is spoken about.
This one,
yeah. And so when we say that there is not the inseparable great bliss wisdom in these lower classes of Tantra, what are we actually really saying? Well, in the lower classes of Tantra, the great bliss is kind of the piece that is missing, really.
This one,
and that is because within these lower classes of Tantra, we do not have the teachings on the fundamental innate clear light. The complete teachings of the fundamental innate clear light are not in those lower classes of Tantra. So then how do we cultivate pure appearance in Kriya or Action Tantra or any of the 3 lower classes of Tantra? We cultivate clear appearance through the unity of clarity and profundity. The union of clarity and profundity allows us that. So then when we talk about profundity, profundity is referring to the object, which is the final clear light of the object, which is its ultimate mode of abiding, which is emptiness. This is what is meant by profound. And so the clear light aspect of the object in this class, in these classes of Tantra, is not different from the way that we talk about it from the objective perspective in highest yoga Tantra. And so the final mode of abiding, which is the objective clear light of all phenomena, not only is this common between highest yoga Tantra and the 3 lowers of classes of Tantra, such as Kriya or Action Tantra, you also find aspects of this in the Sutra or common teachings. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. La gingagil dang.
다 가자라 자라이 나자 나라이 소바
Yeah. Dene nipadi.
산노
Sanang sana.
시고 아주
Ale loso.
아이 샤데레
Ale loso. Dene somebody.
선바모도 니마도
Ale right.
사사님의 나죠
Sorry, really getting the sauce today, but the most difficult points come the fastest. At least it seems that way to me. So we've apparently gone over this 100 times. I'm not sure it's 100, but maybe it has come before. So then we have that profundity and we have the clarity. So the profundity is the objective clear light, which is the ultimate mode of abiding or emptiness of all phenomena. And then cell, which is the clarity. This is the divine pride that one has of being the deity and the clear appearance of being the deity. So this is what is meant by the inseparable clarity and profundity. Yeah. Yene tendang tempa nganso ngagil dang kandesal gore sel nang nyamdu kandestro gires ngadi kine yapo komanso.
Ya ngaja sena ngaji se doka yi som.
Ya di hakosong di tendang tempa nyamdu kandestro.
Da de jise domego yayi kore desare. De jise domego jere. Sabo sena?
Jere sena?
Jecha.
Gen ale. Gen dang.
Share.
Loso. Right. Yeah. So also the clarity is connected not only with the divine pride and clear appearance of the deity, it's also connected with the support and the supported. So the support is the mandala, the celestial abode of the deity, and the supported is, in this case, Venerable Tara with all of her garments, various ornaments, and so forth. Yeah. And we touched on this yesterday, actually, when we sort of dissolved the ordinary samsaric environment into emptiness, then brought forth the Pure Land, brought forth the lotus, the seed letter, the deity, and so forth. So the kind of coming together in the mind of the appearance of the deity, together with the comprehension of the deity's emptiness. So the coming together of the meditation of the appearance of the deity, simultaneous with the cultivation of the deity's emptiness. This union is something that you only have in Tantra, right?
This one, so this
then this is the this is the inseparable. It's like it would have been nice to have a warning on this. It's like we've covered it already, Geshe said. So this is the inseparable clarity and profundity, right? That is what is meant by that. It could have just been a warning to look at it again, right? So we should understand the differences in the Tantra, right? We should understand the differences in the classes of Tantra, that in these three lower classes of Tantra, we have the inseparable clarity and profundity, but it is only in highest Yoga Tantra that we have the inseparable great bliss wisdom. So now Geshe said back to the more relaxing part. That was just by way of an introduction. We are going to kind of settle our mind and visualize and meditate in a relaxed way. So any unhelpful feelings or projections, stress that are in the mind, just think that these slowly melt away, dissolve away, just like clouds when they are touched by the rays of the sun.
노아 동비 노래 아니 사실 가서 다지겠네 벌써 주바
And then from that sphere of emptiness appears a beautiful Buddha field or pure land, starting with the beautiful ground.
손이 예고 디딘의 바송 것이 디딘의 메도베마 다마지와 디딘의 다시 아유 가서 뭐라 나요 왔어 어디지름 봐 이제 됐다.
And then on this pure, beautiful ground with trees and so forth, in the center of this pure land is a vast lake, in the middle of which is a beautiful wish-fulfilling tree, upon which sits a vast four-petaled lotus with the objects of refuge in the middle, back, front, left, and right, as was explained yesterday.
롱도 그 야야는 로아를 주신 제주도 강에 가려나 대녀오진 바람 다 매일 넘바지다 시라도 된바 대바도 된바.
So then we also imagine that gazing up towards this pure land and the objects of refuge, on either side of us are our mother and father, and behind all sentient beings, the six types of beings of samsara, but in human form, so that they can be better helped to be relieved of their suffering, and also that they possess faith and wisdom in the objects of refuge.
롱기 야야리요 켄도와리 주 신지유주 체다. 라마 덴아이시요 다요라스 코로스고 콤보토마도 지디 체다. 대다게 디마세 대와리요 체다 손지 콤보토마서 이 손베토니 쇼주지세.
So then thinking, for the sake of my father, mother, and all the vast assembly of sentient beings just behind me, I make the vow to become just like the enlightened beings, the venerable lamas, the Buddhas, and so forth, in order that I may completely eradicate the suffering of all sentient beings and lead them to happiness. Meditate on bodhicitta.
가스 파파 조 지지 조가 있어 대다게 체다 지지 조기 도메 노마가비 콤보. 아니 디뇨아뇨 다 도바샤비 손지.
And then, as we are cultivating the practice of White Tara today, think about this in a very specific way. For the sake of leading these beings away from suffering and towards happiness, I will quickly, very quickly achieve the state of Venerable White Tara, wish-fulfilling wheel.
소소가 샹로도 아니 세신 공배 틀라데네 샤예 대다게 투간에 게세 빠도 메바로 소소가 쇼거네 마 외제도 녀한다 너저게 예제 잡아봐봐 이런 게 쇼거네 마 주소 좀
And then think, due to the power of our minds of refuge and bodhicitta, The beings of the refuge field have the aspect of being pleased with us. Countless lights and nectars emanate from their heart and fall like rain upon ourselves and all the assembled sentient beings, entering at the crown and completely filling their bodies.
Chupayin, Telchuba, Noji, Lemia, Dito, Gandiji, Nayota, Tawano, but the Nigger, Romichalama, Nombitulima, so much.
So think that as these lights and nectars enter all of the assembled sentient beings and fill their bodies, all of their negativities and obscurations are pushed out through their feet in the form of dirt, black dust, and so forth.
Roger, you do, and Leo, Nalimandava, Devato, Sayo Nalamandava, Zoma, Java, Talele, yo, Chaso, Sompatembo.
Think both myself and others. Our bodies feel lighter and more well than before. Our minds feel clearer and more peaceful than before. So we'll pause there. Again, go to go.
Yeah,
okay. So now we'll begin with the. Just wasn't sure what the plan was. So we will begin with the recitation. So we'll begin with the refuge. So just for clarification, the first 3 paragraphs in the beginning of the document that start with homage to Aryatara, the wish-fulfilling wheel, this is not to be recited. This is a praise and an oath to compose that was written by the author of the text. So we start at refuge. We'll do once in Tibetan and then twice in English. Da da jowa namge da da nyambe semjen tamje dudine sunde jisi janjo nimbo la jiji badu baden lama damba namla chabzu jiyo zobe sangye namla chabzu jiyo dambe che namla chabzu jiyo Pabe Gendun Namla Chabzu Chu. Mare, di se você quer di já tá botar. Tá galera. Ale. Ale. Jetsu ma joka yishin kolo latso kodon cheba namla chabzu chi. So we'll recite twice in English. I and all living beings as extensive as space, from today until the essence of enlightenment is achieved, take refuge in the glorious holy gurus, take refuge in the fully accomplished Buddhas, take refuge in the holy Dharma, take refuge in the supreme assembly. I take refuge in the venerable Lady White Tara, the wish-fulfilling wheel, and the complete entourage of deities. I and all living beings as extensive as space, from today on until the essence of enlightenment is achieved, take refuge in the glorious holy gurus, take refuge in the fully accomplished Buddhas, take refuge in the holy Dharma, take refuge in the supreme assembly. I take refuge in the venerable Lady White Tara, the wish-fulfilling wheel, and the complete entourage of deities. Okay, so now we will do the generation of the mind of enlightenment, once in Tibetan and twice in English. Lama dang kunjo rinpoche namba sumla chase shin kyabsu jiyo kenangi dagi gyu jinji lakdu so semshen tamje gi dundu zobe sangye gi goban doba ja di che de jetsu ma joka yishin kolo gomde la juba ji. In order to attain the fully accomplished state of a Buddha for the sake of all living beings, I will enter into the sadhana of white Tara, the wish-fulfilling jewel. In order to attain the fully accomplished state of a Buddha for the sake of all living beings, I will enter into the sadhana of white Tara, the wish-fulfilling jewel. Rani ke jigi jetsu ma jo ma ko me ko jo. So that's the line that's missing. Instantaneously, I arise as the venerable white Tara. So then we will continue. Chupadin Sorwa. Ale, Semishi. Mare Tambo Bumba Drupa. Dene Semishi Jela Yonki. Yeah. So now we will continue with the blessing of the offerings. Om Vaja Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe Om Sabawa Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobawa Shuddho Ham Tomba Ni Du Konti Injiro Yomare. So actually, Geshe is mentioning something, another thing that is missing from this English translation of the sadhana, which is dissolving into emptiness. Actually, we should also have the vase dissolving into emptiness as part of this visualization. So that's another important thing that's missing here.
Tumbe ngole ngene chena tumbe ngole la tunye tu gese yambala mamba de pamba yosa de poiji shuso poyi de yosa chene ta pamba ka botri ya shuso.
So actually what's really happening here is that when we do the Om Vajra Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe, this is the blessing of the vase and the vase water. So we imagine that the ordinary vase that we have in front dissolves into emptiness. From the sphere of emptiness arises the letter Bam. And then from that Bam appears a beautiful white vase filled with the nectar. Nimechiko, ale, bumpa nangla, loso. Loso. Ale, ngakchen karinga. Jetsu jokar. Yeah. Tene? Okay. So then what happens is that from the mind contemplating emptiness, within the vase, there is a sun disk that appears. Upon that sun disk, there is a letter Hum, and that Hum is what dissolves and transforms into the Amrita, or the nectar of deathlessness. Oh. Sorry. Sorry, the sun disk, then the Hum. The Hum dissolves into the mantra Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha, and that Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha dissolves and becomes the nectar or Amrit of deathlessness. Kandes Jinlap din so kawane yongires. Ale chokchugi. So then Geshe said, if you want to extend the visualization, what you can do is imagine that the Hum transforms into the mantra Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. These emanate lights and nectar, which hook in the blessings of all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. Those lights and nectar dissolve back into the mantra on the sun disk, and then this transforms into the Amrit, or nectar, that fills up the vase. And so what we really have to think is that the water in the vase is of one essence with the nectar of deathlessness.
어따 대소소 노노지나 인에서는 나 노노로 대소소 대대서 된디 베제도 와이나 아저 소소 이지요는 된데도
And so Geshe said, that if one has faith and performs this blessing and visualization, it is said that taking a little bit of nectar from the vase and drinking it can be something that is very beneficial.
소소 노지 타마바들 니바면아 이제 도미크 지니를 코 더차와이자
And so, of course, if you don't have faith in reciting the mantras and blessing them yourself and thinking that really becomes nectar, it's no problem here because you've done the instantaneous self-generation as white Tara, or the generation here as white Tara. And so she is the one who has blessed and transformed the nectar in the vase. Listen, okay, so out of empty. Om Vajramrita Kundali. Mambo Kyoribe. Hana Humbe Om Benzamrita Kundali Hana Humbe Benzamrita Kundali Hana Humbe. Then the Om Sabash. Okay, so so there's another thing missing here, actually, in the sadhana. I'm sorry about this. So before Om Benza Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe, you should have the Om Sobawa Shuddha Sarvadama Sobawa Shuddho Hung, and then the vase dissolves into emptiness. Then you have this next one, Om Sobawa Shuddha Sarvadama Sobawa Shuddho Hung, and then the offerings dissolve into emptiness. And then we continue with the offering verse and mantra. Out of emptiness from 8 Om syllables appear spacious, extensive, jeweled vessels, inside of which the syllables Om transform into different offering substances, which are clear, unobstructed, and as extensive as space. Om Agam Ahung, Om Padyam Ahung, Om Pushpe Ahung, Om Dupe Ahung, Om Aloke Ahung, Om Gende Ahung, Om Nuide Ahung, Om Shabda Ahung. Okay. I instantly become the venerable Tara. The syllable Tam at my heart emanates rays of light, inviting from her Potala abode the Lady Tara, the wish-fulfilling wheel, surrounded by the assemblies of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to the space above. The light dissolves back into my heart. So now the verse of prostration. Gods and asuras with their crowns bow down to your lotus feet. I prostrate to Mother Tara, the one who rescues from all needs. And then we will make the offerings. Om Guru Arya Tare Sapari Ware Agam Padyen Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nuide Shaka Pratisha. So we'll do the bodhicitta vow. Since Geshe has been reciting this 3 times, we'll do the first recitation in Tibetan and the second 2 in English. Konjo zumla dachabji deba tamche soso sha jowe gela ji ram sangye jangshu yigi sun sangye chudang zocho la jangshu bardu dakyabji ramshen duni rabjubji jangshu seni chebaji jangshu chogi seni cheje ni senchen danji dagi junjunye jangshu cheje yion chebaji jola penche Sangye Drobar Sho. I take refuge in the 3 jewels. I regret all my unwholesome deeds. I rejoice in the merit of all beings. I will hold bodhicitta until enlightenment. I take refuge until complete enlightenment in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. In order to fulfill the purpose of myself and others, I generate the mind of enlightenment. Having generated the mind of enlightenment, I invite all living beings as my guests. I will remain in this excellent conduct of the Bodhisattvas. Thereby may I achieve this state of a Buddha in order to benefit all living beings. I take refuge in the three jewels. I regret all my unwholesome deeds. I rejoice in the merit of all beings. I will hold bodhicitta until enlightenment. I take refuge until complete enlightenment in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. In order to fulfill the purpose of myself and others, I generate the mind of enlightenment. Having generated the mind of enlightenment, I invite all living beings as my guests. I will remain in this excellent conduct of the bodhisattvas. Thereby may I achieve the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all living beings. So next we'll do the four immeasurables. So then Geshe says that if you haven't received the bodhisattva vows before, when you recite this, you think, I have newly received them. If you have received the bodhisattva vows before and they have been degenerated, think through reciting this, the vows have been completely restored.
Yeah.
So the four immeasurables. May all living beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all living beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all living beings be endowed with the happiness that is free from suffering. May all living beings remain in a state of equanimity, free of attachment for those they hold close and aversion for those they keep distant. Listen. So we'll pause there and then we will continue. So Geshe said that, up until this point, these are all kind of like the preliminary meditations of the sadhana. But although they are the preliminary meditations, right, points like the four immeasurables are actually something very, very essential. So one of the things to remember here is that when we recite everything dissolves into emptiness or everything becomes emptiness, we can think of this using an image, right? If we think about Kangmi, snowman, right? If we think about a snowman, for example, and think about the snowman that's sort of old. So together with the snow, there's maybe some dirt from the ground and some soot and whatever. When we meditate upon the emptiness of inherent existence of the snowman, not only is the snowman completely purified of the stains of inherent existence, but all of the dirt and dust is automatically purified with that contemplation as well, without thinking about it specifically. So how this translates into ourselves is, so the I, we are the snowman. And then because we have contemplated its emptiness, that the I lacks inherent existence, together with the purification of the grasping at true existence, then impure appearance and the grasping at impure appearance are also cleared away through that contemplation. Just like in the example with the snowman, with maybe the dust particles or the soot that are mixed in with the snow. So all of our kind of samsaric appearances and dialogue, thinking that I am impure, I am not good enough, I am not capable of this, all of these are purified through that contemplation of emptiness.
다 야배와 이나요 배와 노로로 가시게 다 야보도 로셔도 녀래 지기 지기요 알아와 다 샤지데 녀래 지기 달래 쇼보도 가레서 간줄리데 코일리 로와스
Right.
그래서 도마도 되지나 다고 손지 이자 걸어서로 때도 마기반도사에서 건다 시기 됐어.
So some Geshe said, especially Tibetan practitioners who he's spoken to, and he said this doubt, in a way, it's a good sign. It's a sign that they've really tried to engage in the practice, right? They say that, when you practice Kriya Tantra, it's really difficult to kind of arise on the basis of this samsaric body, to arise as a deity, for example, as White Tara. There seems to be something incongruous about that.
다 tet 단다 대사는 다 레기야 말했어.
Again?
분반이도 저
Yeah.
로도데
Yeah.
다 마시나
Yeah.
단다 강해진 거야.
So that shows, though, where their practice had a gap, which is dissolving the ordinary form into emptiness, right? They missed that point about everything dissolves into emptiness.
다 저기도와 다 던지 차소데 다 동바서 차소나 던지 그 포게 동바서는 또그 세대가 놓아지와 왔어. 세대 동바 세대동 놓아되니 녀도가 투니야. 달할 So
once everything has dissolved into emptiness, then what is the mind focused on? The mind is focused on, it is resting in emptiness. That mind resting on emptiness has an appearance. So that appearance, together with that mind, is what arises in the form of the deity.
This one, oda gipazo gareresena da jiman ganzo che tobolle서나.
Yeah.
요새 참mol을 하강인내를 도도야 타다고 시레스.
So why do we need to cultivate in this way with this awareness? Because actually this is a method to establish the imprint, to arise the deity on the basis of the extremely subtle wind and mind.
사실 개발시 모델 아마 저가 버지 제와요 몸보지 딜이요 아래.
알레. 칸스 샘당룽 참올라테네. 알레. 차규
야 소설하고 해야 돼.
차규 여담에.
핀보타가를 하고 주그래.
알레.
어떻더니 연다질 하는 거래.
So this is a big point of debate between Lama Tsongkhapa Sakedi Minghamakoro. Between Lama Tsongkhapa and a Sakya scholar. Lama Tsongkhapa really talked about the necessity of dissolving the aggregates and so forth and then arising as the deity. The Sakya scholar said that Pumbongala tene la drug tugire sigire. The Sakya scholar actually insisted that the arising as the deity has to be on the basis of the five aggregates. So this is a difference of opinion.
Lama Tsongkhapa
argued that since the five aggregates are samsaric in nature, there is no way to use the five aggregates as the basis of arising as a deity. Yeah, so we can revisit more of this later. There's a lot to say about this debate, actually. Los Om Sobawa Shuddha Sarva Dharma Sobawa Shuddha dissolving. So everything becomes emptiness. So think that my mind's emptiness and White Tara's mind's emptiness are exactly the same emptiness. There is no difference in that emptiness.
Tumbi se di ngole no ka shu chani kawa ani ina yo ani tumba omatare te dare ta pa daka sakane pa shu chani pa ta ba shi so.
And then think from that space of emptiness, there emanates the sound resounding through the 10 directions of the mantra Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha.
Kale tindi da de ji tane ngwa ga na ba la si si wo cha so so.
And then within that emptiness, resounding with the sound of the mantra, the letters or the syllables of the mantra appear.
Shu je kawa ta wa ina yo no ka ko chi pa
Okay. So then wherever one looks within the 10 directions of space, it is completely filled with these mantra garlands.
no ka ne ko tong ge de ka sa ka ne ko ka bu chu de pa si to de was te no chi pa.
So Geshe said, filled with these mantras that are kind of, active, moving. So it's a little bit like the mantras are like during a blizzard, the snowflakes completely filling the sky.
Kale ta ma ge ge te chi pa chi chi le ta ne tama o ta re chi mo la pa cha so ma.
And then all of these dissolve into one mantra garland, so that only one mantra garland, Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, remains. So all of those others have dissolved into that principal garland.
Ngoi ta tang ge tumba ni so no to de sa ti ge se ti no le. Pe so wa ye ge pon le me do be ma chi mo cha so.
And then from that mind thinking about emptiness, we come back to the sadhana, and we think that this mind appears as the syllable pam. And then from pam arises a white lotus. And then upon that white lotus is a letter A. And the A transforms it transforms into a moon disk upon the lotus. And then upon that is one's mind in the form of a white tam on that disk on the lotus, emanating rays of light. This is another very important point that's missing from the translation of the sadhana. Then from that white tam emanating rays of light, this rays of light touch every last sentient being, completely purifying and liberating them. So we can imagine that when these lights reach out and touch the environments, those samsaric environments are purified and arise as pure lands. When it touches sentient beings, those sentient beings are purified and arise in the enlightened form of white Tara. And then we think, having reached out and touching every last corner of the 10 directions, the light then gathers back in. And then from accomplishing those purposes of purifying beings in the environment, when the light rays dissolve back into the Tam, then without any obstruction whatsoever, that Tam is able to arise in the form of the enlightened deity, white Tara, wish-fulfilling wheel. So think, I am in the form of Venerable White Tara, wish-fulfilling wheel, body white in color, one face, two arms, and so forth. My right hand is in the gesture of supreme giving, the left hand at the heart, between the thumb and ring finger, the stem of an Utpala flower that blossoms at my ear. And there are 3 blossoms to this Utpala flower. The one in the middle is fully bloomed. The right one is already blossomed and going towards fruit. And the left one has not yet opened. These represent the Buddhas of the 3 times, past, present, and future. Then I am adorned with jeweled garments, with jeweled ornaments and clad in various silken garments. And my upright body is supported on a moon disk. So think that you are sitting on a moon disk, just like in the images of Venerable Tara, and you're seated in the Vajra position. In this way, you're supported very firmly. And then to stabilize this visualization, at your crown a white Om, throat a red A, and heart a blue Hum. So try at this moment to really experience divine pride, I am white Tara, and also to develop the clear appearance of the deity and her aspect. So think, I truly am white Tara, who is able to most perfectly serve sentient beings and accomplish their purposes. So we'll pause there. Jahumbam Hodi. So Geshe said that it's good, although we kind of covered it already in the meditation, it's good we recite the words from the sadhana. So I'll lead you in that. So midway down page 6. Out of emptiness from the syllable palm comes a white lotus, and from a moon disk, on top of which is my consciousness in the form of a white syllable tam, emanating rays of light, accomplishing the purposes of beings. The light collects back, and I become the venerable wish-fulfilling wheel with a white body, one face, and two arms. My right hand is in the gesture of supreme giving. My left hand is at my heart and holds between thumb and ring finger the stem of an utpala flower that blossoms at the level of my ear. It has 3 blossoms, the center one in full bloom, the right one having already blossomed and gone to fruit, and the left not yet opened. These symbolize the Buddhas of the 3 times. I am adorned with jeweled ornaments and clad in a variety of silken garments. My upright body is supported by a moon disk, and I am seated in the Vajra position. At my crown is a white Om, at my throat a red A, at my heart a blue Hum. At my heart on a moon disk is the white syllable Tam, which emanates rays of light, inviting from Potala Buddha field in the south, the venerable wish-fulfilling wheel, surrounded by an assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Zahum Bam Ho. They become non-dual. Again, rays of light emanate from the syllable at my heart, inviting the initiating deities. So the purpose of this visualization, Geshe said, you are the commitment being in the form of white Tara, then inviting the wisdom beings and having them descend into yourself. This then makes your state of Tara stable, immovable, and lasting. And it's also very good after receiving the wisdom beings that one then contemplates that this body of white Tara, firm and stable, lacks inherent existence, is empty of inherent existence. And at this time, Geshe said, you can also do the blessing of the mudra related to the 6 deities, the deity of mudra. You can do it in 3 places, crown, throat, and heart, or you can do it in the 5 places. At the forehead, each shoulder, and then the heart. Yeah. So then when we are practicing sadhanas such as this, which are practices of kriya or action tantra, then the practice of the 6 deities is something really important. So that's something we should be familiar with. Yeah. So I'll just read what Geshe recited from memory. In Action Tantra, the yoga of suchness of the deity's essence is expressed as 6 deities: the emptiness deity, the letter or syllables deity, the deity of sound, the deity of form, the deity of mudra, and the deity of signs. I'll read those again. Emptiness, syllables, sound, form, mudra, and signs. These are the 6 deities. So then Geshe just wanted to mention that as it's very important. And now we will continue. Please bestow on me the initiation. Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishekata Samaya. Yeah, Drotsar. Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishekata Samaya Shriye Ahum. My body is filled, purifying all stains. The excess nectar overflows from my crown and transforms into Buddha Amitabha.
예보 매주 잼바로 저 스테르와
That's
어다 리다 예보 매 리다 시기도 아스케전 예보시나
ridak ale yeah.
리다 본딜 젠도 지시가로 예보 마 하고서
Yeah. So Geshe said that in the Tibetan, once again, you don't have this in the English. You have ridak upame, rigidakpo, which means Lord of the lineage Amitabha. So it's not Buddha Amitabha, it's actually Lord of the lineage Amitabha.
내가 직접 약해 바라지 미다 니 요소 그래 나서 사보소 그들라 아니 리다 저 기바 가리체들에 잘라봐이나.
So why do we call Amitabha Lord of the lineage? Why does he have this title?
하고서라 빼나가서 lumba 소소 파나 야고 뭐뭐ኞ도 초비가라 캐나다 아리타 여러 야고 뭐요하러
로스
그게 뭐 초비가라
야
손sol 소소 다자크는 얘기도와
ale loso ale loso. So Geshe said that it's a little bit like if you have a meeting at the United Nations of different countries, like you have Canada, the US, all of the different countries in Europe and so forth. So to differentiate between people will each be carrying a flag. So this king of the lineage is kind of like the flag that Amitabha is carrying. Loso. Peme rigi dachalagaro. Yeah. So that designates that flag, which designates Buddha Amitabha as the Lord of the lineage. So Geshe said, you can think of it as the cloud, or you can think of it as like the 4-star general. He or she wears those ornaments on their clothing, those stars, so that you know who they are. So it's a little bit like that. And it also designates to which lineage they belong. So it designates him as the Lord of the lotus lineage. I said to Geshe, we didn't tell him which lineage he is, so he's the Lord of the lotus lineage. So next we'll continue with the a blessing of the offerings. Om Vajra Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humbe Om Sabhawa Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobhawa Shuddha. Out of emptiness from 8 Om syllables appear spacious, extensive, jeweled vessels, inside of which the syllables Om transform into the different offering substances, which are clear, unobstructed, and extensive as space. Om agam ahum.
That's good. This chuba piaterwa.
Listen, di chuba jinla karilagare. Dene chuba puya jela Om Aryatara Sapari.
Oh yeah, this good. Oh, da le dike ja kachi buchi yares. Pena ro so da no so kumba no la chuba shi Om de ye cha pimena.
Right.
Chuba song to sa mena.
Right.
And chuba pa tongyu che ge de la. Nona de so no to na chu yare.
Gombala yoba, chusula yoba, all of
those. Yoba, yona de sa salpa. So
Geshe said there's an important point that he wanted to mention here when we talk about blessing the offerings. If you don't actually have offerings set out, for example, like the minimum of the 7 or 8 water bowls, you don't have a basis for the blessing of the offering, but that's okay. What you can do is think of a place where the offerings are regularly made. So you can think of our Dharma center, or even better, you can think of like one of the 3 seats, one of the big monasteries in India where the offerings are already made. Think of those and then bless the offerings. So if you're a lazy person who doesn't like to do your water bowls in the morning, this is the way around it. Just think of a place where those offerings are made every day and bless those ones.
So
Geshe said really kind of like actually any monastery, any of the larger monasteries in India that you feel an affinity with, you can be sure that those water offerings someone is assigned to make those offerings every day. So you can think about those if you don't actually have offerings set out. But then when you are kind of Yeah.
Right.
So when you bless the offerings, you can think that. But then when you think about the offerings arising from emptiness to actually make the offerings, you have to imagine that they appear in the space in front of you. You should imagine that they appear in the space in front of you.
This one.
Om agam pajam pipit bra. Om agama ahum om pajam Saparivare agam bhajam dupe aloke genje nide shabda pratishavu swaha. So I don't know, when Geshe does it really loud in Tibetan, he's like, why don't you chant? But I feel like if you hear me like kind of going over Geshe-la's voice, it feels kind of awkward for me. So okay, sorry. I prostrate to Mother Tara, the liberator of beings from existence, the one who liberates from the 8 worldly fears with Tutare, freeing from all illnesses with Ture. All the wisdom and activities of compassion of the extensive Buddhas appearing in the form of the extremely beautiful goddess, bestowing longevity and supreme attainments to a great number of beings, I prostrate to the one who is extremely white and holds Anutpala in her hand. At the heart center of myself, visualized as Arya White Tara, is an 8-spoked wheel with a hub and 3 rims. At the center, on a moon disk, is my own mind as a white thumb encircled by the mantra for increase. So we'll recite this together. On the 8 spokes are the 8 syllables tare, tutare, ture, swa. On the inner rim of the vowels are placed counterclockwise om, a, I, u, riji, lili, e, a, svaha. On the middle rim, the consonants are arranged clockwise. Om, kaka, kanga, cha, cha, chanya, tata, tana, papa, pama, yara, lala, cha, cha, sha, sha, svaha. And on the outer rim is the mantra of the essence of dependent arising arranged clockwise. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetun teshan tatagato hyavada teshan chayo niroda evam vadi mahashramana ye svaha. Oh, disong. Ale. Yeah. Ale. Mangru tangures. Ale. Titi apo kogimatus. Eti pasha. Sorry. Yeah, ngaksaya. Mari. Nganso chiklogo garwa. Tsepame dongdenso chatsawa seta garwa. The seed syllable in all the letters of the mantra are in the nature of light. Dewdrops of nectar stream forth from the letters. At my crown is the Lord of the family, Lord Amatayus, red in color, with 1 face and 2 arms, holding a golden vase filled with the nectar of immortality, in the gesture of meditative equipoise. Clad in silk and jeweled ornaments, he sits in the Vajra position. He is adorned at the heart with the red syllable Hri, from which hook-like red rays of light emanate in all 10 directions, collecting all of my life energies that have been robbed, stolen, or caused to be taken away, or scattered by human and non-human beings, as well as the essence of the 5 great elements and the life energies and merits of all living beings, the brilliance and dignity of the 3 worlds, and so forth. All the wealth and goodness of the existence and the blessings of the body, speech, and mind of the Guru, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas are collected back in the form of nectar and rays of light in different colors, and absorb into the vase in Amitaius's hands. By this absorption, the white nectar overflows and enters into my crown opening, absorbing into the wheel, the mantra, and the seed syllable at my heart. From that, rays of light of nectar flow down, filling my entire body. My outer body is washed. The accumulation of unwholesome imprints and obscurations, illnesses, disturbances, and obstacles of life are cleansed and purified, thus restoring my life energies, merits, and broken vows and commitments. I attain the city of immortality. Ta kyo dirwa.
Kare, Ngodrup.
Yeah, mama.
Yeah. Wata Ngodrup so be kale ini me tangi te so to kares. So it is a chinela chu ji sanje yuzu witane. Niba pasu so ba so ni shu ji wasi de chibishla kanga sitene. Di rongi che kawado chobado. Ti kanga yabo.
So one easy way of doing this visualization is that we can imagine as we recite the mantras, light rays go out from our body to the 10 directions and hook in all of the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and other holy beings. As they dissolve into us, we can imagine that any life's force that was degenerated, stolen, and so forth is recovered and restored.
This one, on the Seja Tonchek said to say energy meba choices on his own to come. Yes, I was also sorry of that. Gibaji Seji Tony, social pedo yarmato, Pasha never she.
So Geshe said that there was a question that arose regarding this. When we do this visualization and imagine hooking in the life energies and so forth of all beings, is that like we're stealing the life force of others? The answer to this is, of course not, right? It wouldn't be ethical to do a practice like that. We're just doing a visualization, and this visualization is something that can activate the potential to restore our generated lifespan. So just think of it as a visualization.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we'll begin with the white Tara mantra. Om tare ture mama aya pune jana pushtum kuru ye swaha. Om tare ture mama aya pune jana pushtum kuru ye swaha. Om tare ture mama aya pune jana pushtum kuru ye swaha.
Om Dare Dare Mama Ayapune Jana Pushun Guru Soha. Om Dare
Ture soha, Om tare ture soha, Om tare ture soha, Om tare. Page 14. Om tare ture soha, Om tare ture soha. Page 14. Tare ture soha, Om tare ture soha. Ture soha, Om tare 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 ture soha. Om tare ture soha, 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 Om
Rung Nikal me ta me Niji Wata Shuchu. The Lolo Badevach Sitas, don't you to be saying Mala.
You get in sola.
Me Rung Nikal. Don't you to be saying Bala, me no me.
So think of one's mind contemplating emptiness at the heart level. And this mind contemplating emptiness at the heart level has the aspect of flames of fire. And then think that within this fire, which is in the shape of a ring, is the mantra garland of the letters Om Tare Ture Soha.
디그더니 저비단 뭐지다 저마체 바타 오마다르다 다타고요 소나토쇼스. Yeah.
And think that this mantra garland within this ring of fire is constantly emanating the sound without break of the mantra Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Think that the sound is very resounding and beautiful, filling space.
Tumoy mete ya jin so gata kami kandiji na pa shiwa ta ta ni sono to koyares.
Medinzo dabarwa.
Tumo mete mete ya shuchir le ne la.
Yeah.
So kami kandiji na pa shiwa.
And then think that from this visualization, building on the inner fire within us, this burns through any obscurations or difficulties.
Lima madeo yoga ina kanga passion ta deo to tap tembo ya bushwa somba.
Yeah. And so think that through this meditation and the purification of that fire representing emptiness, anything that's been causing discomfort or illness in our body is completely purified.
Omatare tatare tare soha. Tell me karta virsena manage sote.
So this particular visualization, what name does it have? It's called the concentration or samadhi abiding in fire. The concentration or samadhi abiding in fire. And this is one of the main sort of yogas of mantra recitation that we find in Kriya or Action Tantra. Poagi natsayana. So especially if one is having digestive problems like gastric issues or slow digestion, this particular meditation is said to be very good for building the power of digestion. And also it can build the power of our tumo or kundalini, our inner fire. And as one achieves the siddhi, in other words, the realization of this practice, it is said that if one doesn't have access to food and so forth, one can do the practice of concentration abiding in fire, and one will not need to eat ordinary food. So these are some of the benefits of that meditation. So there are three concentrations connected with mantra recitation in Kriya Tantra. This is one of those three. Pemasattva. So now we'll recite the Vajrasattva mantra together. So we're on page 14 in the sadhana. We skipped the visualization of the colors. Om Pamasattva Samaya Manupalaya. Samaya Manupalaya whatever mistakes I have made because of not knowing or lacking ability or not finding the proper materials, please be patient with these. Oma Arya Tare Saparivare Agam Bhajen Hupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Shabda Pratichau. All the wisdom. Huh? So Geshe said he realizes that we didn't do the meditation of the tents or the shells of the different colors because of time, but he will guide you through that meditation tomorrow. So all the wisdom and activities of compassion of the extensive Buddhas appearing in the form of the extremely beautiful goddess, bestowing longevity and supreme attainments to a great number of beings, I praise the one who is extremely white and holds a Nutpala in her hand. Through the merit collected by this practice, may I quickly attain the state of the wish-fulfilling wheel, and may I lead all living beings without exception to her state of enlightenment, thus dedicating roots of merit. And so we should so we'll go to page 18 to dissolve the visualization. From the syllable at my heart, rays of light emanate. All the container and contain dissolve into light and absorb into the brownish circle. The 6 circles and protective wheel dissolve in stages from outer to inner. The protective wheel also dissolves into me. I absorb into the wheel into the mantra rings, the rings into the tam, which dissolves by stages into emptiness. Out of emptiness I arise as the Lady Tara, marked at the crown with an Om, at the throat with an A, and at the heart with a Hum. Through the merit collected by this practice, may I attain the state of Venerable Tara and lead all living beings without exception to her state of enlightenment. When the signs of untimely death appear, by instantly seeing the form of the wish-fulfilling wheel, the power of the Lord of Death is eliminated. May I swiftly attain the state of a knowledge holder of immortality. Through the roots of merit accumulated by this meditation, recitation, praises, and offerings to the Venerable Tara, may all obstacles, interferences, evils, and disturbances be pacified, and may I enjoy the glory of immortality. By merely seeing your body, hearing your speech, and remembering you, all signs of untimely death are destroyed. In all my lifetimes, may I be guided by the Venerable Tara, and may I be able to enjoy the holy Dharma. May I swiftly attain the activities of pacification, increased power and destruction, the 8 cities, and so forth. May I quickly attain all the common and supreme attainments, and may all my hope and wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Whoever holds this sweet dew of nectar of immortality, the sadhana of the white Utpala flower, in their palms of their hands respectively, Arya will rejoice in that fortunate being. Changcho semcho rinpoche mache panam chejo rechi chewa nyamba meba yang gone gondu pewa sho tongni tawa rinpoche mache panam chejo rechi chewa nyamba meba yang gone gondu pewa sho jambe bao jidar kemba dong kundu zambo deyon dejen de da kungi jesu dalo che kewa dida tamshe rabdu ngo dusun shebe gyawe tamshe ge ngawa gangla chodu nga pa de
dagi gewe tsawa dikun kyang zambo jeje radu ngowa gi gangri rawe kowe shinkan de pendan dewa malu jongwe ne chere ziwan tenzin jazo yi shabe side badu tengyo
ngaro sugi za ini ba nitsa droga gatane kazu tu se shala tiene somba memba jowa tsoboka yoba ina yoba tata rone pshene kanga yopono yaji.
Through the virtuous karma we have accumulated and through the powerful blessings of Venerable Tara wish-fulfilling wheel's holy body, speech, and mind, may all those possessing evil thoughts and intentions have their thoughts purified. May all those engaging in evil conduct be purified and be brought to kindness.
Kanga li dewa se kiva.
May the sun of happiness shine without discrimination on all sentient beings, bestowing a good health upon their bodies and bestowing happiness in their minds. So we will pause there. So Geshe said that the session went by quickly with a little bit of friction. I guess it's just hard to keep up with Geshe sometimes. So my apologies. I did my best. So yeah, so Geshe says, it is good to approach the practice with open-mindedness and humor and a sense of playfulness, right? This is something that is really good for us. So that being said, don't forget that at 1 p.m. Annie Bien will lead a session for us. And then tomorrow, Geshe and I will not see you in the morning because Paula Chichester will guide you for the morning session. Geshe and I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the afternoon and the final session of the 3 days. So thank you so much, everybody. It was lovely spending time with you. We'll see you soon.
I just want to add, if you haven't been following the chat, the artist of the white tar image that we displayed yesterday afternoon has very kindly offered this image for us to use, and I've added it into the chat, so you can download it from the chat.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy your lunch. See you soon.
Bye.